If you criticize the Taliban, YouTube will pull your plug. If you ask who the F is Allah, two-tier Kier will throw you in the jug. It's Ramadan now, so don't you dare say a word. Jihadis hate it when the truth gets heard. But that's what we do here, ladies and gentlemen. We tell the truth. David Wood is with us tonight. David, welcome.
How you doing, Robert? How you doing?
David, thank God, never better. It is always a good day when it is this week in Jihad. And so...
Hey, are
yes?
people in there yet? I haven't seen it start yet.
Seen what start exactly?
I haven't seen the show start. Is it going yet? Oh, okay, there we go.
Did it just start now?
Hang on. I'm going to mute this for 1 second.
I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much shenanigans, so much chicanery, so much...
No, you're good.
Oddity.
I checked it. There's a bit more of a delay than normal, but it was good. We're good.
Okay, well, I hope
for those who weren't watching, we started like 45 seconds before, and it still wasn't up. So I was like, I don't know. Well, I wasn't even sure we were live.
Should I do the poem again? Yes. Because
no, I think they got the poem.
Oh, they got it? Okay. Because it's pertinent. I actually just picked it out of the trash because it has to do with the first story here. That
One second. A bunch of people are saying, "Where's the poem?" They missed the poem. I looked at it. I thought you had the poem, but I would just go ahead and read it again, just for GP, just for general principle, Robert, for the people who missed it.
This is for the GP out there, ladies and gentlemen. If you criticize the Taliban, YouTube will pull your plug. If you ask who the F is Allah, two-tier Kier will throw you in the jug. It's Ramadan now, so don't you dare say a word. Jihadis hate it when the truth gets heard. And back to the trash with that one, ladies and gentlemen. But it's a true story. That is our lead story for the week. YouTube has been removing videos critical of the Taliban. And meanwhile, I'm in this ongoing thing. I think that it might be that oh no, there they are. Look at that. Super chat showed up. So it's still an ongoing thing with the YouTube. It's a funny thing, David, because they say when I go over and look and see if everything is all set, they say, oh, there's just one thing you got to fix. So I click on that and it says, we found hate at your website. And so they don't give you any way to explain, to appeal, to make a counter argument, to say I'm actually opposing hate and not fostering it. They just say, give you a click thing to say, I've fixed this. So, of course, I tell them I've fixed it. And then I get it again the next day. And we've just been having this dance now for a few weeks. And they said something else. Oh, it was disparaging to people. And I think telling the truth about people is disparaging. I don't know. But I fixed it. I told them I fixed it. And it's true, because I never disparage anyone. I just tell the truth. So...
I mean, imagine, because I just posted a video this morning. It was a response to Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer, our
two-tier Keir.
Yeah, two-tier Keir. And because he'd posted a video complaining about Islamophobia in the UK, and he's saying, and there are Muslims who don't feel safe in their own country. And I was like, oh, so you really care about people who don't feel safe in their own country, huh? Anyway, the point was, if a Muslim says, I don't feel safe because of the people around me, the government says, oh, well, tell us who to arrest. We'll destroy them. But if a non-Muslim says, I don't feel safe because of the people around me, you're going to prison, buddy. You're going to prison. You're getting locked up. And it's like, so you've already got these two tiers in society, and the government is trying to reinforce it more and more. But towards the end of the video, I posted this little montage of things Muslims were saying, like very popular Muslims and Muslim scholars, about the unbelievers being filthy animals, less than animals, worse than animals, about jihad being the ultimate goal, and so on. And I put together a little couple-minute montage, and I was like, if you watch this, are you allowed to be at all concerned like even slightly, and say, hey, I'm worried about the direction these things are going? Because the answer is no. But if someone so much as looks at you wrong and you're a Muslim, it's, oh, the government's ready to spring into action and start arresting people. It's like utter hypocrisy, but it's terrible. It's terrible. So anyways, it's a similar thing with you. It would be, hey, look at what this guy is saying. Look at what this group is doing. They're going around killing these people. And why are they doing it? Because of this command to do it in the Quran or the Hadith. That's why it's going on. And you're the guy who's guilty of hate, not the ones who are killing people, and not the sources which command them to do all this stuff and to bang little kids and kill people and slaughter people and beat women into submission and stuff, kill apostate. Not the people who are doing this and not the commands. You're the bad guy. I mean, it's the same situation over. It's in the UK. You'd be locked up if you were allowed in the country, which you're not. Why? Because you criticize this stuff. Because you tell people, no, don't kill apostates, don't beat women, don't have sex with little kids, don't do that. That makes you the hate monger. And yeah, so it's the case with YouTube as well. We went to your website, and you're actually criticizing and objecting to the slaughter of non-Muslims at the hands of jihadis. Shame on you, you hate monger, Robert Spencer bigot.
Yep. So that's it. I don't know how that's going to work out. But meanwhile, this story, it comes out that the Taliban is getting the... Well, I don't know actually who's doing it. We don't know if YouTube has decided to take down videos criticizing the Taliban, or if the Taliban is mass reporting these videos and getting them taken down. I don't know. But YouTube is on the side of the Taliban. And the Taliban, meanwhile, David, the news out of Afghanistan this week is that women are now banned, their voices are banned from being heard on the Afghan radio waves. I imagine that that's some really good listening too. They probably got some great music and so on. But anyway, on Afghan radio.
Yes. Oh, I just want to say, think about the low level of self-control that characterizes these guys. This like, oh, I can't hear a woman's voice. It will give me a boner. I can't do it. We must ban the voice of a woman because I will get a boner.
Well, that is the idea. It's exactly the same idea as the burqa. That they can't see a woman's face because it would be too tempting. They can't hear a woman's voice because it would be too tempting. And so it's always the women who have to adapt their behavior, not the men who have to control themselves. It's just always the way. Oh, and speaking of women and temptation, do you know which country, David, is chairing the UN Commission on the Status of Women?
So many awful ones to choose from.
That's right.
I got to narrow it down to. My gut would say Iran, but they're going through some troubles right now. So, but you got to, let's see, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Got to be Pakistan, Iran, or Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia is the winner.
Ha!
The 69th session of the UN Commission on the Status of Women began on Monday with representatives from each of the 45 member states. Now get this. This comes a year after the commission, that is the UN Commission on the Status of Women, unanimously elected Saudi Arabia as the head of the Commission on the Status of Women. So Hillel Nuer, who's always good for a quip, but he's the executive director of UN Watch, he said this was like putting Dracula in charge of the blood bank.
Smart.
Yep. All right. Meanwhile, we have Syria. Lots more jihad in Syria. Lots of stories about Syria and the massacre of the Alawites and the Christians as well there. And there have been lots of estimates. We talked about this last week. Lots of estimates as to the number of people killed. Looks like at this point it's as many as 7,000 Christians and Alawites who've been murdered there. And of course the number is rising all the time. And meanwhile, David, the European Union, this is kind of amazing, but on March 18th, which was yesterday, Tuesday, March 18th, the European Commission offered $4.6 billion in grants to the new jihadi regime in Syria after they murdered 7,000 Christians and Alawites. 4.6 billion. So we got three similar stories here. Did you notice the similarity? YouTube is removing videos critical of the Taliban. Saudi Arabia is the head of the UN Commission on Women. And the European Union is giving $4.6 billion to the Syrian jihadis who are murdering Alawites and Christians. Do you see the common thread there, David?
And it's something we've talked about for years now. What the basic idea is that ideas have consequences, and you have Western leaders and so on who get an idea in their heads, and then, it's one thing to have the stupid, insane idea in your head, but then they go out and try to make it work in the world, and it always, always, always leads to horrible disasters. But the idea that they always have in their head is that the reason you have these jihadis, and so it can't have anything to do with Islam. We know that just from being told it all the time, not from reading sources, but from being told that for a long time. Terrorism has nothing to do with Islam. Islam is a religion of peace. Well, what's that mean? If you're a jihadi or something else is going on, it must be for some other reason. It can't be because of Islam. You're a jihadi in spite of Islam, because Islam is peaceful and tolerant, and you want to kill people and slaughter people. So you must have gotten that from somewhere else. Where do they get it from? From years of Western imperialism and so on, and Western atrocities in your countries and so on. That's what turned you into these jihadis. And so it's built into their mental framework that if you just change the tone and show how much you love them, and you shower them with money, and you praise them, and you say, you guys are the heroes of women's rights, you guys are the champions of peace, you guys are the great, truly great freedom and democracies in the world, you guys are, then eventually their hearts will melt and they will stop being jihadis. And what's the flawed idea in all of that? That this stuff has nothing to do with the Muslim sources, and therefore it's because of these other things, and you could fix those other things while never fixing what Islam actually commands. And they keep thinking this is going to work. And when has this ever worked? When has this led to one positive outcome in the world? Because you had it. Remember, Robert, you had this idea was like central to Obama, and Obama went and gave his famous Cairo speech, which I have to say, brilliant speech. If that theory was correct, you could not have done a better job saying, hey, we've treated you so horribly in the past, and we realize what this has caused, and so if you just, yes, I want to set a new tone. I'm just going to praise you and praise you and praise your religion and praise your prophet, and everything will be good, and this is supposed to make things good. And so we do that, and what do we get? ISIS. That was the result. That was the outcome of that. You got ISIS, and you still haven't been able to fix that problem. And so now they're just, what are they doing? They're making future ISISes, and look exactly what they're doing. They're taking ISIS and Al-Qaeda jihadis who put a suit on and say, see, we're different now. And then, hell, okay, we'll shower you with money. He's wearing a suit. Now he's modern. Well, let's shower him with money. You don't realize you're getting more and more people killed, and you're strengthening them so that by the time you eventually decide to deal with the problem, it's a much more massive, much more difficult to deal with problem. And it's all because of stupid ideas in the heads of Western leaders.
Yep. I got more on that theme. Speaking of suit-wearing jihadis, that is Assad Hassan al-Shabani. And he is the new foreign minister of Syria. So he is a card-carrying member of the jihadi regime in Syria. And Assad Hassan al-Shabani was designated some time ago as a terrorist because he was a member of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which was trying to impose Sharia in Syria, which it is now in power and is doing, and was linked to Al-Qaeda, which was waging jihad in Syria. And so he was a terrorist. Anyway, Assad Hassan al-Shabani, the EU actually removed his designation as a terrorist this past week so that he could go to Brussels to attend a donor conference. That is, they're going to give him a lot of money. And so they had to remove his terrorist designation so they could bring him to Brussels and start writing him checks.
I have to. Could you put that picture back up there, Robert? Because
Here he is.
I have to say, you are making 0 sense right now, buddy. You're talking about this guy being terrorist. Are you blind? Do you see that suit? I see a suit. I see a shirt with a collar. I see a tie. I see his hair with some pomade in it, slicked back nicely. The man is looking smooth, and he's at the World Economic Forum. How could you possibly not see that this man has clearly changed his ways and deserves a second chance, Robert?
That's it.
What are you saying? Is Robert Spencer saying we should never trust a man in a suit? Come on.
That's right. It's the suit. It's all about the suit. That's exactly what I'm saying. Never trust a man in a suit. But Assad Hassan Ashebani, he's really got it made, because he was barred, just as we are barred from entering Britain. He was barred from entering the European Union. He was classified as a terrorist. I'm classified as a hate-mongering extremist and all that nonsense. And they lifted the terror designation. They brought him to Brussels to shower him with money. So it makes me actually optimistic for the future. I'm figuring by this time next year, I'm going to be flying to Brussels and collecting the checks.
Yeah, but I mean, think about this, Robert. Think about this.
Yes.
These Western guys are like, oh, look, this guy, he trimmed his beard up. He trimmed his beard up, and he put on a suit. See, we're making a difference. We're winning them over to our side. Whereas in the jihadi camp, they're going, do you have any clue how stupid these guys are? All we have to do is toss on a suit and slick our hair back, and they'll just toss billions of dollars at us. Do you understand how stupid these guys are? Yeah, they want a bunch of morons. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allah has delivered them into our hands.
So what do you think? Maybe if I tried it in reverse, since I always have the suit now, if I ditch the suit, put on fatigues, grow the beard long and scraggly, you think maybe that
start screaming death to Israel, death to Israel, death to Israel.
Yeah. Now that would certainly do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. They'd make you the new prime minister.
That's it. All right. Meanwhile, back in reality, this is Bishop Athanasius Schneider.
Oh, no.
You saw him? You know about this?
No, I know nothing about this, but these stories never go well on This Week in Jihad.
No, this is an actual exception.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Whoa, an exception. Some good. Hey, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. There's some good news. A ray of sunshine on This Week in Jihad.
No, not good news, David. Just news that doesn't involve a Catholic bishop being a total idiot about Islam and jihad. As a matter of fact,
that's good news.
Just the opposite, although what he was saying was quite dark. He said, we are currently witnessing an invasion. There are no refugees here. It is an invasion of the mass Islamization of Europe. Now, I'm surprised he got away with saying that. I think it's probably because the Pope is ill, and so he wasn't able to reprimand him. But
yeah, I would imagine he's going to be in trouble. When you and I are looking at him going, he should be the next Pope.
Yes, definitely. Or the guy in Nigeria.
Just imagine we're setting the bar pretty low. Be able to notice the obvious. Have some basic level of common sense. If a bunch of guys are screaming, we will conquer you, we will humiliate you, Allah's delivered you into our hands, and we're going to do this by immigration and multiplying, we're going to take over. And you say, I don't think they have our the purest of intentions in mind. That's like our standard. Right? Like,
yep.
Okay, just don't be a useful idiot, and we'll be fine with you.
Yep. So Athanasius Schneider.
Yeah, people who aren't useful idiots are in short supply nowadays.
Very, very short supply. As a matter of fact, speaking of youthful, Speaking of youthful idiots,
there are plenty of those too, Robert.
This is Hamid Patel. And you probably saw him around. He is the new head of Ofsted, which is like being Department of Education, the Secretary of Education in the United States. He's the head of he's the education chief in Britain now. Hamid Patel. Now, Hamid Patel doesn't just look like a down-the-line Sharia guy. He is a down-the-line Sharia guy. He is the chief executive of Star Academies Trust, which runs 40 Islamic schools around Britain. And he was the head teacher at Tawhid-ul-Islam Girls High School in Blackpool, where he urged the students to recite the Quran at least once a week and to avoid un-Islamic images on stationery that they brought to school. And he also has encouraged the students there to wear hijab outside school. And he also brought Sheikh Abdurrahman As-Sudais, a Saudi cleric, to the school to speak, who has called Jews pigs in line with the Quran, prayed to Allah to terminate them. And he was challenged about that by the Sunday Times. And he said, oh, the girls wanted to see this guy with 5 million followers. They had seen him on YouTube. He stayed 20 minutes. Well, that makes it okay, doesn't it?
Yeah, get Andrew Tate next.
So anyway, that's the new head of education in Britain.
Got it. Always got to give the young people what they want, Robert.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, and guys, once again, it's a situation where how bad can you actually feel? I mean, you could feel bad for the little girls who are going to suffer because of this. You can feel bad for the people who don't want this, but at the same time, Muslims make up 6.5% of the population, and this is the level of control you give them, and you keep voting in people like Keir Starmer and so on. It's like you're begging for this. Like I mean, it's like a person who says, if you walk down the street and you saw someone lashing someone with a whip or something like this, and you say, "Hey, what are you doing? I want to intervene." What if the other person's like, "What are you doing? Get out of here! I like being lashed with a whip." It's like, I mean, okay, I don't know what to do then, and you just walk away. What if a person just likes being lashed? That's what like the Great Britain is like right now. We like being subjugated and humiliated and having our daughters taken as sex. This is what we love. We want more of it. Please give us more. Give us more. Give us more. It's like, okay, we wanted to help, but we don't even know what to do in this situation because we think you're nuts.
Yeah, I think that's about the size of it. On the other side, though, you gotta we have to acknowledge that Britain was ruled by the Conservative Party for about 15 years. The Conservatives continually promised to rein in the mass migration, to stop the boats coming across the channel every day, to try to get a handle on preserving British cultural identity. They didn't do any of those things. They reneged on every promise that they had repeatedly made, and they repeatedly just went ahead and kept encouraging the mass migration and so on. So the people in disgust voted for the alternative, which of course is even worse. So they really don't have a good choice. Even Nigel Farage, who a lot of people think is the hope for Britain, has said, well, look, the Muslim population is growing very quickly. We just have to deal with that. We can't say that Islam is some kind of a problem or that it causes any problem. So he's not going to deal with it either. So Britain is in deep, deep trouble. Here's another example of it.
As the French say, they are les screwed.
Exactly. And so in Britain, the Metropolitan Police, that's the police in London, they had a complaint about a sermon that an imam preached after the October 7th Jihad massacre in Israel. And in this sermon, he said, "Oh Allah, curse the Jews and the children of Israel. Oh Allah, curse the infidels and the polytheists. Oh Allah, break their words, shake their feet." Sounds like he wants them to dance. "Disperse and tear apart their unity and ruin their houses and destroy their homes." Now, remember, this is the London police. They arrest Christians for praying silently outside abortion centers. They arrest non-Muslims for chanting rude things about Allah. and they have decided not to charge this imam. He gets no punishment whatsoever. He just goes on. That's modern
Well,
Britain.
well, how would you punish him for saying, curse the Jews and so on? That's exactly what Muhammad said. So if you're gonna punish him, you'd be saying it's wrong and immoral to curse Jews and so on, and that would be a slap in the face to Muhammad. And so you just can't do it. You just have to say nope, because Muhammad has become the standard of appropriate and good behavior in Great Britain at this point. And
Yep.
so get used to it. Get used to it, Jews. That's what's happening in the UK. And get out while you can.
Yes. Speaking of Muhammad being the example of good behavior in Britain, let's look at this fella. He was featured in a TV show with his wife there. That's one of his wives. We don't know exactly which one, but he's got three, and he lives with his three wives in three different apartments.
Nice.
And he pays for it all with welfare benefits from the British taxpayers.
Must be nice.
Yep, it's quite an arrangement, and the British are incredibly foolish to allow it. But where does it come from? Why does he live on welfare instead of getting a job there, David?
Well, you have lots of Muslims who are opposed to the idea of working in a country like the United Kingdom or the United States, because they would have to pay taxes, and they would be paying taxes to the government, and these are governments that make mischief in Muslim lands. And in Islam, you're actually responsible if you fund the person who funds a soldier or something like that is equally responsible, according to Islam, for what the soldier does. The person who funds the soldier gets an equal reward that the soldier gets, and therefore they would have a problem funding a military who may who's that's doing something in Muslim countries, and so they refuse to work. And the governments are all too happy to indulge them and their wives as well. And that's a situation. I've mentioned this before. I don't remember where the article was, but I read it years ago, and it was saying that the attitude in Muslim countries, the idea in Muslim countries, one of the reasons they want to get to Western countries is not because freedom and democracy and Western values and so on. It's in Muslim countries, even though you're allowed to have up to 4 wives, most people can't have 4 wives because that you have to be wealthy. You have to be wealthy to have multiple residences and so on, and most people can't do that. So if you're just a regular working class guy or even a poor person, you can't hope to have 4 wives in a Muslim country. You can't afford it. But it's become understood in Muslim countries, if you can just get to a Western nation, then you can marry 2, 3, 4 women. You get the marriages in the mosque, not before the state. And according to the state, all of your wives are single mothers, and they all get state benefits. And so the government will pay for all your wives and their homes and everything. And so the idea is, if you can just get to a Western nation, they will pay for you and all your wives and all your future kids. And so you can have a much better, much more fulfilling sex life, and you can have way more kids. You can have way more kids, way more wives, if you just get to a Western nation. And this is one of the reasons people are flocking to, and we think, oh, isn't it great that they're fleeing their home country? No, they can't afford all these wives in their home countries because their home countries will not pay for all their wives. You will, you giant morons. So.
And of course, it's a basic idea in Islam that it's the responsibility of the unbelievers to pay for the upkeep of the believers. That's the whole idea of pay the jizya with willing submission, that the non-believers owe the Muslims their upkeep. They have to pay for the Muslims. They have to work and give the money to the Muslims. The Muslims don't have to work. That's the ideal situation in Islam. So
and people don't realize how dangerous like these stupid ideas they have are, because they think, oh, they're stupid enough to fall for this. Oh, this guy wants to come to a Western nation because he's being oppressed. No, he wants to come to a Western nation because he wants to have a bunch of wives and to have idiots pay for them, right? So they do this, and then we pay for the wives in the mindset psychologically. It's look at what Allah has done here. Allah is making these people pay me, and they don't even realize it, right? They're all paying me their jizya, and they don't realize how. You see, this is the proof. This is the proof that Islam is true, and we are here to dominate and subjugate them. Allah has delivered them into our hands. Look at these morons just handing us money and funding their own destruction. Isn't this great?
Yeah, it's incredibly dangerous also because it looks like the fulfillment of a prophecy from the Quran. And that is in chapter 59, verse 2. And I'm getting it here. It says, "It is he who has caused those among the people of the book who disbelieved to go forth from their homes to the first exile. You did not think that they would go forth, while they thought that their strongholds would protect them from Allah. But Allah reached them from a place they did not expect, and cast terror in their hearts, so that they ruined their houses with their own hands and the hands of the believers. So learn a lesson, O you who have eyes." When Muslims see that non-Muslims are inviting them in and paying for them to live here, they think, look, they're ruining their houses with their own hands, just as Allah said. And so they think this is an enterprise that Allah is blessing, and they flock here all the more.
And this is sad because, again, after World War I, when the Ottoman Empire lost, and then after that crumbled, there were lots of Muslims who were thinking, "Okay, we lost. Allah's not delivering these nations into our hands. We need to change. We need to change. Islam didn't work. The prophecies have failed." And then you get down to our time, and it's like, oh, the prophecies have not failed. They're just coming to pass in these other ways. We're still going to conquer them. It's going to be in a different way from what we anticipated. But praise Allah, we're subjugating them. And so they keep it going. They're Western nations are keeping the jihad going by keeping the confidence of the jihadis high.
Precisely. So, all right, we did a lot of stupid infidels here, David. We should get to actual jihad, which of course is raging hot in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Central Africa. The evening of March 8th, the Allied Democratic Forces, which is an Islamic State ISIS group, they launched a violent attack on the village of Ingite in Beni, North Kivu. That's in the far northeast of the DRC, very, very far northeast up by Uganda. An eyewitness said they came around 2 a.m. and started killing people with machetes. The screams echoed until 5 a.m. 3 houses they set on fire. They burned alive a woman in her house, stole animals, and kidnapped people. Why would they come at 2 a.m. and start killing people like this? What is the idea, David?
I would guess they're imitating the night raids of Muhammad. You got the night raids. Muslims used to during the time of Muhammad used to love going out raiding people at night when they least expected, and so on. You have that. You have Ramadan. Your blessings are always multiplied in Ramadan. So yeah, I could see it.
Also in Congo, also in Ramadan, you have 9 villagers killed in the village of Ngohi Vuyinga. Ngohi Vuyinga in North Kivu, also Lubero territory, also ADF. They attacked villagers working on their farms, came and started to kill people at random with guns and machetes. Cesar Kambale said the peaceful population, he's a youth leader there, he said, the peaceful population is being killed, but there's no intervention on the government side. And that, you got to wonder, we see this week after week after week, that these jihadis do these things in the governments of these various states. Democratic Republic of Congo, Nigeria, Niger, various others, they don't do anything. And how is it that the jihad groups are more powerful than the government forces?
And this is, by the way, this thing. What happens is, it's the same thing that's happening in like the UK and so on. So you basically got two possibilities. One, you can have governments that are actually behind the scenes working with the jihadis. They know they're on the same side, and that's why they're turning another. In other words, they actually agree with the agenda of the jihadis, and that's why they look the other way. That can be the case in multiple countries, but also it's this other thing where like in the UK, the leaders of political parties and so on, the wealthy, they don't have to deal with the problem that they're causing. They don't have to deal with the jihadis. They don't have to deal with their daughters being gang raped and so on. They don't have to deal with this sort of thing. And therefore, it's in their best interest to keep appeasing and to keep praising Islam and to keep importing tons of it. Doesn't affect them. And so as long as they're the ones who are praising Islam and saying it's great, then they're the good guys in the eyes of Muslims, and they don't have to suffer any consequences. It's the regular people, and especially the women and the girls, who suffer most. But why should they care? They don't have to deal with it. But you can have the same thing in other countries where even a government that's not aligned with what the jihadis are doing, it can be a situation where, okay, well, I'm safe. I live in a nice house. I'm wealthy. It's these other people who are being subjugated and killed, and as long as the jihadis are targeting them, I don't want to upset the jihadis, or the jihadis are going to turn and target me. And so either because you agree with them or because you're afraid of them and don't want to be targeted by them, you always look the other way.
Yep. And it's really the same story all over, all the time. Here's another one out of Somalia. Last Tuesday in the city of Beledweyne, or Beledweyne. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not Somali. Any Somalis out there, you let me know how to say that. But they have a place
Ilhan Omar,
there.
where you at?
Yes. Ilhan, if you're watching, give me a call. In the city of Beledweyne, we have the Cairo Hotel. Cairo, I know how to say. The Cairo Hotel was the site of a conference where traditional elders and military officers and government officials came together in the Cairo Hotel to have a conference about how to deal with Al-Shabaab, the jihad group in Somalia. And the jihad group Al-Shabaab gave them an answer. They stormed the hotel, they set off bombs, they started firing at the conference goers. The siege of the hotel went on for 15 hours. And it's kind of remarkable after that only 6 people were killed. But it was kind of it was a very strong point there made by Al-Shabaab. All these officials and local leaders got together, and military men got together to strategize about how to defeat Al-Shabaab, and Al-Shabaab raided their conference, laid siege for 15 hours, and killed 6 people.
Well, Robert, there's only one solution. We should make Al-Shabaab heads of the European Union, and then their hearts will melt, and they'll love us. They'll love us all.
Yeah, if Al-Shabaab had the sense, they would put on a jacket and tie, and then they'd
Put on a suit, guys.
Yep, go to Brussels, pick up a few billion. Maybe they did that. Maybe that's how they've paid for all this that they were able to do in the Cairo Hotel in Beledweyne or whatever it is. All right, let's go to Spain, to the Catalan town of Salt. I don't know how to say that in Spanish, Salt, but anyway, the Catalan city of Salt, which I don't know if Lot's wife lives there, but in any case, Khalilu Diawara lives there. And Khalilu Diawara is an imam. There he is. And Khalilu Diawara was evicted from a house that he had occupied illegally in the Catalan city of Salt for 5 years without paying any rent. And yet, despite the fact that he was there illegally and squatting in this house, not paying any rent for 5 years, he was finally evicted, and immigrant groups and radical leftist activists vandalized property, attacked the police, set fire to dumpsters, and damaged urban infrastructure in defense of Khalilu Diawara and his right to stay in Salt.
That's another pattern we're seeing all over the world. It's here, let these people let people from this group do whatever they want and get away with anything, no matter how insane or ridiculous it is. And if you object in any way, we'll burn places to the ground.
Yeah, it's kind of like all the outcry over Mahmoud Khalil, who is the Palestinian activist from Columbia University who's been deported or in the process of being deported. And he's, of course, it's a very big cause. But just one thing I wanted to say about it is that it's really an open and shut case because Mahmoud Khalil was here on a green card. Green card says you can't agitate for a terrorist group. He was clearly agitating for Hamas. His group was even putting stickers around Columbia saying "Death to America," and yet now he's a big hero among a lot of Americans. Very strange situation. Strange
Weird.
world. All right, let's go to Toronto. Always a good place to go for crazy stories. And let me get the. Hold on a second. Okay, I have all these notes now, and it's really. Have you noticed, David? The show moves so much more smoothly and efficiently than in the early days. Really, but anyway. Uh, okay, maybe not. This is a couple of Toronto police officers. They're both Muslims. They're there on the Toronto Police TV show. They have a some sort of a liaison show to reach out to the community. And there you can see it's very official. They're there. They got a Toronto police table and all that. And these guys said we're talking about how great October 7th was because all these people decided to convert to Islam when they saw the Hamas massacre of 1,200 people. Now, that's not out of the question at all, the fact that they were stating it, because it reminded me of that hadith, David, where they're the two brothers, and one of them converts to Islam and kills
Yeah,
somebody at Muhammad.
Muayisa and Huayisa. Yeah,
Yeah, those
yeah.
guys. And the says if this religion makes you kill at the drop of a hat, then I'm joining up, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can have people like that who are like, "Whoa, these guys are going around killing, and they must really believe it," which is exactly what happens in that story. One brother goes out and just starts killing people because Muhammad said it, and the other brother says, "Wow, if a religion that you must really believe this stuff, which must mean that it's true." So you have people like that. You also have people who just hate Jews, and so when they see Jews being killed, it's well, anyone who's killing Jews is on my side, so let me join up with them. So yeah, but also um, going all the way back to after the 9/11 attacks, you had this thing where every time there's some huge Islamic terrorist attack, everyone wants to show how not Islamophobic they are. And so after 9/11, what did you have? Every single news network just did a parade of Muslim speakers to come on their shows and explain
Mhm.
how this has nothing to do with Islam. You want them on there. You want to say, hey, let us show you what real Islam is. And so you bring the Muslim Dawa guy on there. He says, no, Islam's a religion of peace and tolerance because Muhammad was great and Muhammad's great and he was a champion of women's rights. And we got the scientific miracles in our perfectly preserved book. And they spouted all this nonsense. And then you ended up with a wave of mass conversions. And this happened after every big terrorist attack. There'd be terrorist attack, everyone freaks out, and then wave of conversions. And again, it was news agencies who were fueling this by giving free airtime to as many Muslim spokespersons as possible after every terrorist attack. And dangerous game to play there, because what message are you sending? Hey, the more you attack us, the more we'll support your religion and promote it throughout the world.
Yep.
And then we wonder why there's so many terrorist attacks. Weird.
And so the Toronto chief of police, Myron Demkio, he issued an apology for the show. But these two guys, they have not been reprimanded or investigated or disciplined in any way for saying, hey, wasn't it great that Hamas killed 1,200 Israelis because it brought people to convert to Islam? That part was fine.
Yeah, by the way, this goes back to what I was mentioning about like what's going on in the minds of Westerners and Western leaders versus what's going on in the minds of Muslims. Western leaders, apart from actually celebrating the October 7th attack, Western leaders in Canada will love if you've got some Muslims on there going, yeah, we're police officers and we love Islam and we love conversions to Islam and yeah, we want more people to convert to Islam. And you love that because you're like, see, now Muslims will get the idea of how open-minded and tolerant and how much we love Islam. And this will help them love this place even more and so on. Whereas from the in the Muslim mindset, it's look at these idiots. They're like celebrating and inviting us to subjugate them. Isn't this awesome? Isn't this a clear blessing from Allah? Allah has done this to their minds, made them invite us in to conquer them and take them over. And just don't know what it's going to take for people to wake up, because it's not terrorist attacks. Terrorist attacks don't do it. Muslims announcing it and saying this is what they're thinking, that doesn't do it. Yeah, so I don't know. It's weird.
It is. Here's another weird aspect of it, David. This is a terrible aspect of the story. This actually comes from the October 7th massacres. This was a conference of Israeli and Palestinian women that was held shortly before October 7th, 2023. And the Israeli woman is there on the left, obviously not in the hijab. And she and all the other women who attended this was a peace conference of women from Israel and Gaza that was held in southern Israel. And all the people who attended from the Israeli side were murdered on October 7th because the people who from the Palestinian side attended went back and gave Hamas the attendee list. So Hamas used that as a list of names of victims, went and searched out those people's addresses, found them in public sources from Israel, and went and killed them on October 7th. So the people who were killed on October 7th, many of them had just attended a peace conference with Palestinians.
Oh, and by the way, that's pretty standard. I mean, the local those kibbutz places, those local little farming villages that are along the fence with Gaza, those are like hippies. Those are like hippies who want peace with Gaza and so on, and that's what they are. They're like these little peaceful farming villages of Israeli hippies who want to get along, and those are the people who are murdered.
Yeah, exactly. And in that case, it was particularly right in the act of their trying to achieve peace, because they ended up revealing their names and addresses to the people who wanted to kill them, not realizing that those who were with them on the other side were not sincere, but were practicing Muhammad's dictum, war is deceit. All right, let me get another one out of here. Out of France. Very different kind of story, but you probably saw this guy, David. He walked into a church in Strasbourg, the Church of St. Peter the Young in Strasbourg in France this past week. And you can see he's got his back to the altar, and he has a Quran, and he started reading Quran verses in the middle of the church. What was he doing?
Show of force, taking same thing Islam always does. One, Islam is obsessed with taking over people's places of worship. They did it with the Kaaba, Hagia Sophia, tons of Hindu temples and so on. And as you mentioned in your book, The History of Jihad, that they would take the idols of the Hindus and smash them and then sprinkle them on the walkway into what was a Hindu temple, but converted into an old mosque. And then they would sprinkle the pieces of the idols around there so that they could walk on them as they walked into the mosque and so on. But yeah, so they have an obsession with taking over people's places of worship. And even if they can't, completely take it over, they love going and making a show of things there. It's basically the same idea as when they line up for prayers and block streets and so on. It's look, we're taking you over, and mainly it's look how it's a message to other people. Look how weak these people are. They will not stand. They will not stop this. They will not stop this. They do not oppose this. This is sending messages to all other Muslim lands these guys are too pathetic right now to stand up and stand in our way. Look how easy this is. It's all here. It's all here for the taking.
Exactly. And that's very important because, for example, what would happen if a Christian walked into a mosque, say in Ankara, and started reading the New Testament out loud?
Probably get beaten to death or something like that. But at the very least, even if it's like a mosque in the U.S. and even if the person didn't get beaten up and so on, at the very least, it would be international news for like the next 6 weeks. Look at the intolerance of Islamophobia. You'd have Keir Starmer out,
Hmm.
and the darkest day in the history of Great Britain has been the day that a Christian walked into a mosque and started reading the New Testament. Oh, the Islamophobia! But yeah, no one cares if it's something Muslims are doing. Two
Indeed.
tier, two tier.
That's right. All right. Same old story department. We have in France a 21-year-old Moroccan man. He was on an order to leave French territory, but he did not do so. And that is, of course, very often the case. And instead, last Saturday morning, he attacked police officers with a knife near the Cannes Central Police Station while screaming Allahu Akbar. And what do you think, David? Is he getting charged with terrorism?
Don't they usually assume a mental problem or something in these situations, or just let him slide? But
Bingo. Yep, he's in psychiatric care.
that's good. He can get the help he needs.
Meanwhile, same old story department out of Germany, a knife wielding Afghan Muslim migrant was on a train. The train stopped in Gifhorn in Lower Saxony, and the train made an unscheduled stop and was evacuated because a 44-year-old Afghan Muslim was waving a knife around and threatening the train crew with the knife and another unidentified so-called dangerous object. And so this is becoming just sort of day-to-day commonplace activity in Europe. Here's another one, although I think this woman really is crazy. This was in Amsterdam. You may have seen this video also circulating around. There it is. This woman here brandishing a knife and screaming Allahu Akbar repeatedly while waving the knife around. But it was a crowded train. She didn't actually attack anyone. And I'm not, it seemed to me maybe she was just nuts. But it's interesting to note not wearing hijab, so on. Even if she's nuts, that this is the real pattern that insanity is taking these days. After so many examples of people acting this way, then it becomes things for people who are marginally sane to imitate.
Hmm. Little self-defense side note for people who might be in that situation, especially in Europe, not as much here in the U.S., but it still happens here. If you got a crazy person sort of waving a knife around, you got to be careful. But if they're in a situation like that where they're just holding up the knife, like they're going to do something. If you're if you're in punching distance of that person's hand, if a person's holding a knife and you punch their hand, that knife falls out. It just does. Punch the hand if you can.
There you go. Punch the hand. Jihad Watch Punch the Hand edition. All right. We
Be our
got...
new channel, Punch the Hand.
That's a good one. We got these three
On
charming
Rumble.
gentlemen. Yes. And these guys are Faiz Shah, Mohammed Kamri, and Elijah Ogunubi Sime. But Elijah Ogunubi Sime seems to be a convert to Islam because they all were involved in the abduction and assault of an Israeli music producer, Itai Kashti. And they kidnapped him. They told him that they were with Polydor Records, and they wanted to talk to him about producing a record. And so they actually set up a meeting with him whereupon they abducted him. They planned to extort money from him, launder the money, and it seems like they were going to kill him, but he managed to escape one
Smart.
time when they all left, and they left him all tied up, but he was able to get free and get out of there. And what's interesting is that one of the attackers, they didn't say which, but one of them wrote to the other, all three of us have complete 100% faith in Allah, so we can't fail. And yet it seems as if they did fail, because Kashti escaped his bindings and was able to get away from them and survived. And so once again we see they had 100% faith in Allah. They didn't think they could fail. They failed.
And that's the really, really sad part. Jihadis have been failing a lot over the last couple of years, Rob. I mean, just look at the whole situation with Israel, right? It's, we're finally going to conquer these Jews, and then the Jews crush you, and there's nothing you could do about it except whine and get a bunch of idiot college students to protest for you and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you keep losing, right? I mean, they keep, this is the year we're going to conquer Israel, and you lose and you lose and you lose. And then you have things like this, Allah's on our side, we can't possibly fail, and you fail miserably. These things would actually, first of all, they do have a big psychological impact. Muhammad Hijab, our good friend Muhammad Hijab, a couple years ago did a poll for Muslims, and he said, hey, when you doubt your religion, when you're having some sort of doubts about whether Islam is true, what is it that's causing those doubts? What is it that makes you doubt whether Islam is true? The top answer was moral problems with Muhammad. They keep getting pointed out. But another, I think it was around 20%, another response was the weakness of the ummah, that we keep failing and losing and so on. So it's amazing that you could actually dissuade future jihadis from trying to kill you by jihadis failing now. And so that, like, send a message, you're not going to win, so give it up. I mean, like, think Hezbollah got all their balls blown off. Well, where was Allah protecting them then, right? So you should get it in your minds. Okay, this is, because how they reconcile this is they think, Allah's testing us by making us fail over and over and over again. But, that doesn't last forever. It's like, okay, we tried 300 times in a row and we lost every time. What are the odds that Allah's with us and all this stuff? So it would be the case in Islam that jihadis would be looking at this going, I don't know if Allah is really on our side in this thing. But it's actually Westerners and Western leaders who keep giving them the encouragement they need by making them think, no, Allah is helping you subjugate the West. He is helping you. He's just doing it in a different way. Mm-hmm. And so they're keeping the hope alive. They're keeping the jihadis' hopes alive.
Yeah. And it's just like Allah said in 59:2, that the unbelievers will ruin their houses by their own hands. And here we are doing it. But here's actually a different kind of story, David. This is a little bit of a twist. This is a man identified only as Abdul F. And Abdul F lived in Germany for many years, but he's from Afghanistan. And he had a rap sheet as long as your arm. In 30 years in Germany, David, Abdul F accumulated 166 entries on the police crime database and 27 convictions. He served 12 years in prison in Baden-Württemberg. And he was finally actually deported in August 2024. Yeah, I know. This is why this is a story. It's so unusual. He was a serial criminal in Germany, 166 entries in the criminal database, and then he was finally deported in August 2024. Now he's back in Kabul, where women cannot be heard on the radio, and he says, it was a stroke of luck that I returned to my country. It is much safer than before. In my view, you can also develop here. If you have ideas, you will be supported, especially by family. Today, I can leave the door to my shop open and nobody steals anything. I was nobody in Germany, but here in my country, I am someone. I know a lot, and people respect me. Here, I can make my own decisions. I am free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's spread that message around.
Well, exactly. It seems to me you got all these Muslim serial criminals because they have no respect for the law, because it's the infidel kafir law. They have serial criminals in Germany, France, Britain. The human rights laws do not allow them to be deported for the most part. As a matter of fact, I have a story I've meant to get to before. This is Abu Wadi, who is a Palestinian jihadi. He called for the killing of all Jews. And he just arrived in Britain. And British authorities are saying, well, he can't be deported because he would face a human rights problem back in Gaza. And so he's likely to stay in Britain. And I think this is crazy. And we could send exactly the message that you were talking about and stop giving them the impression that Allah is allowing us to ruin our own houses by our own hands, as the Quran says in 59:2, and instead show them that they're not going to be able to further the jihad here if we just start deporting these migrant criminals. And then these migrant criminals are saying, hey, it's great.
Yeah, it's, I mean, Europe and the West could change things basically overnight in that respect, right? Hey, you commit crimes here, you commit crimes here, we're instantly sending you back. The crime rate would instantly plummet. Instantly. You'd still have people trying to get away with it, but they'd be significantly more careful about it, and so you would see crime rates plummet. But they won't do it. It's what you killed how many people and raped how many girls? Okay, well we can't send you home because they would mistreat you there.
So let's give you welfare, and you and your 4 wives.
Let's make you the new prime minister.
That's coming.
It's the only way.
I think really though, to be fair, in Britain, Anjem Choudhury ought to be the first prime minister of the Islamic State of Britain.
We should start that. We should start that as like a joke. Yeah, we should start that. Anjem Choudhury for prime minister. Yeah.
Yep.
And start posting pictures of him and stuff. Just say, hey guys, skip to the end. This is where it's heading, but just skip to the end. Wait, why are you going to drag it out for another 20 years?
That's right. All right, super chats, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I got to say, I don't know how these things are going to work out. It's still up in the air with YouTube. They're certainly not paying anything, but we'll see how it goes. As long as they keep offering it, we'll keep doing it and see what happens. Anyway, Amit Yanuka says, thank you for everything you do and did. You are great people, from the Israeli people. Thank you, Israeli people. And Amit, we love you as well. Crazy Normie YT says, where can I buy your new anti-Semitism book, Robert? Anti-Semitism History and Myth came out yesterday, and it's available at Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Noble. It's available wherever books are sold. If it isn't, ask them to order it. Anti-Semitism History and Myth. Thank you for your interest in that book. EANDM Creation says, is the term "there is no compulsion" valid for Islam because it is a political ideology rather than a religion? I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you understand the question, David?
No, yeah, I don't either. But yeah, on the issue of no compulsion in... Oh, he's saying... I think he's saying it doesn't actually apply because it's no compulsion in religion, but Islam is a political ideology rather than a religion, and so they're allowed to. But
Islam is a religion. They think it's a religion. It claims to be a religion. It does what religions do. I'm not saying it does what religions do in terms of uniting you with God. It does what religions do in claiming to give you a relationship with God or some sort of something with God. And consequently, all these people who say it's not a religion, I don't think you're really getting it. It is a religion. It's not a good religion. But if people who say it's not a religion at all generally are assuming that all religions are teaching you to be nice and good to people. Where are you getting that from? Islam doesn't. It's not. Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same. you have it in a different way with the people who say, "Oh, Islam must be peaceful," and it's because they assume that religions must be peaceful, and they believe that Islam is religion. Therefore, they make a conclusion and so on. It's, no, stop doing that. But if you were just asking basically what role there is no compulsion in religion has in Islam, you don't need to go that route. You could just go to the Muslim commentaries, and I would recommend going to the commentary of Al-Qurtubi, because he gives all the different interpretations of it that Muslim scholars held down to his time. And guess what? No one, not one person on the list thought that it means what Muslims today say it means when they want to say Islam is a religion of peace. Oh, Islam says there's no compulsion of religion. No one in Islam thought that for many up until the modern period. And so because they understood, you have commands like, fight those who do not believe, and so on. So they understand, wait, we are supposed to fight people based on what they believe. And Muhammad saying, I've been commanded to fight people until they say there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. And so what they did, what they did was try to figure out how to reconcile these things. And you have people who say this only applies in certain situations, or it was for a specific situation, or this applies to Jews and Christians if they agree to pay the jizya. The most common one, as far as I can recall, is just that it was abrogated by later commands to fight.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, this was the time of Surah 2. This was given, but later, when they were given a command to offensive jihad, this was abrogated. This was canceled.
Absolutely. You can also read,
and that's what Ibn Kathir said. Yeah,
about how that is understood in the Critical Quran, which is also available now, with a long note on that verse 2256 on how it is understood by the Islamic commentators. Amit Yanuka gives a sticker, and it's described there, and thank you. And then we have Joshua Wooden. Will Mr. Spencer be involved in this final nail in the coffin of Islam with the Quran Study Group DW? How do I join? Just join J and DOC Patreon. Well, David, you take that.
Are you asking how to join Jai and DOC's Patreon? Because it sounds like you just joined Jai and DOC's Patreon. And are you asking how to join the project? I posted a video a couple days ago, and it's got a link if you want to join the project. As for Robert, I always assume Robert's busy because he writes like 5 books a year and stuff like that. But Robert,
I finished one yesterday. So
yeah, basically, Robert, we're spreading it out. Nice, calm reading. You've read through the Quran, but we're going over the next. I don't know how long it'll take because we want to also make content on it as we're going along. But we have a couple hundred people involved, so only some of us will be making content about it. But basically, we're going to read through the entire Quran. So next week we'll start and say, okay, everyone read Surah 2. People will read Surah 2 in different Quran translations and so on their own. And then we kind of get back together, and everyone posts every verse that they found in Surah 2 that has anything to do with what the Quran says about the previous scriptures and so on. And we're going to take that, and then we're going to decide, okay, who wants to make something on that? Who wants to make a video about that and so on? But everyone's going to learn. Everyone's going to know everything Surah 2 says about the previous scriptures. Then we're going to go on to Surah 3. We're going to keep proceeding along there all the way through the entire Quran, and then we're going to figure out different ways of packaging that material and so on. Because anyway, we think a lot of us think that this is the best argument to use with a Muslim in discussions about Christianity and Islam. It completely changes the discussion. Every time a Christian's having a discussion with a Muslim, you say, "Oh, Jesus died on the cross for sins. He rose from the dead. He claimed to be the divine Son of God." And the response comes, "Ah, your book's been corrupted." Mm-hmm. If the Christian can just destroy that, whoa, the book's been corrupted. Oh, you got a problem, man, because your God and your prophet affirm my book, and it just completely changes every single discussion. So we want to basically, we want to make this argument as airtight as possible, and this argument is as airtight as arguments get in Islam, and then popularize it and put it in the hands of Christians everywhere. So, yeah, I don't know if you're interested in tagging along. It's not we're spacing it out because there are people like me who are slow readers, and then there are fast readers and so on. I'm assuming since you're a fast writer, you're also a fast reader. But yep, that's what we're going to be doing for the next. Don't know how long it's going to take. 4 months, 6 months, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. If I can be of service, I'm all over it. I'd be happy.
I'll send you a membership to the community, and you can jump in whenever you want.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then we have Miriam saying, are you interested in having the history of jihad or any of your books translated into Spanish? I'd love to do it. Hi, Mr. Wood. Thank you, Miriam. I'm very interested in that. It's unfortunately a bit more complicated because the publisher owns the foreign rights, and they want to deal with other publishers. So if you have a publisher who will publish it in Spanish, then yes, full speed ahead. But if you don't, unfortunately, that's going to be an impediment. Had many people approach me to translate my books into many languages over the years. And usually the problem is getting a publisher, particularly in places where there's a lot of jihad, like India. Publishers are afraid, and it's understandable. They don't want to get their offices bombed, and then they can't do any of their work, or they end up dead. Mark H. says, good to see the world's biggest Islamophobe again, and David. Super chat still going strong. Yes, we'll see how that shakes out. Thank you. Daniel. Oh, Daniel. Oh, it's a Hakika here, David. No, sorry, Daniel. I know you're not the same guy. Just got your book in the mail today. When is the audiobook version being released? I do not know, but I do believe one is in the work. Actually, no. There's one in the works for Muhammad, a critical biography. For anti-Semitism, history, and myth, I do not know if there will be an audiobook. The audiobook company decides that. And so if you want it to happen, then contact the audiobooks that Amazon, the publisher of the audiobooks that Amazon puts out, tell them you want to see it, and that'll help it come to fruition. Grumpy Granny says, thank you, Robert. No, thank you, Grumpy. May I call you Grumpy? In any case, thank you. Arctic Based says, good evening, Mr. Spencer. Just wanted to let you know you're my favorite Islamophobe. Well, you're my favorite Arctic-based individual, Arctic. As for my second favorite at the moment, perhaps AP. Wait a minute, what about the Dizzle?
He's setting the bar pretty low there. Setting the bar pretty low.
K-Dog. Hi, Robert and David. God bless you both, and God bless you, K-Dog. God loves dogs. You know, that's one of those things. Islam hates dogs because dogs are loyal, faithful, and true, and Islam hates that kind of thing. Tezbot says, hi, thanks, David, for earlier vid on two-tier Kier, GB hypocrisy. Shared on Facebook, spoke to many people. There you go, David.
Oh, good. Hey, Robert, a bunch of people got ticked off years ago when I said Muslims hate dogs because they're the most Christian of animals, because they will like lay down their lives for others and stuff. I said that because I'd watched this. They had to reenact it, but there was a fire that broke out inside a house, and the dog is in is outside chained up, and a fire breaks out in the house with the parents and the kids and stuff. The dog busts out of his chain and then rips his way through the door. Now, doors are pretty strong, Robert. You normally have to kick in. You normally have to kick in doors. And the dog, so he rips and claws his way through the door. Gets inside, wakes everyone up. They all get outside and stuff like this. But the dog had like chunks of door like stuck all in him and stuff like this. Wow. So they had to get the dog help and stuff. And it's like, anyway, I'm like, that's a dog that lays down his life to protect others and so on. So anyway, that's my theory about why Islam hates dogs.
Greater love has no man than this. That Jewish ex-spy in the chat says, former NCTC TTIC. I'm figuring that has something to do with intelligence, but I'm not intelligent enough to know exactly what that stands for. I am encouraged by Tulsi Gabbard stating Islamic terrorism as the greatest terror threat. Roberts, your thought on U.S. counterterror? Yeah, it's a big difference. I wrote an article about this at PJ Media a few weeks ago. The Biden administration, Joe Biden himself, Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher Wray, Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, they all said white supremacy is the biggest terror threat the nation faces. They said it over and over. It was a total lie. You don't see white supremacist terrorists out there blowing people up and stabbing people on the street and so on. And so Tulsi Gabbard recently said Islamist radical terrorism, which of course it's really mainstream Islamic Jihad, but it's still much closer to reality than the last group was. So long may she wave.
And it's the same thing we were saying about like church leaders and so on. It's just like we're not setting the bar that high. We're just saying like have basic common sense and some basic connection with reality, so that you don't sound completely insane to us. So
precisely. So John Davis says, I'm a Catholic and I'm ashamed of my church and a certain Catholic apologetics organization that justifies jihad. Is there actually a specific Catholic apologetics organization that justifies jihad? I'd like to know the name of that one. But in any case, I'm not surprised by this. Certainly Pope Francis and all the bishops, they are completely in the tank. They are in denial about jihad. They enable jihad. It's shameful indeed. Nada Simic says, love your work. Thank you, Nada Simic. I love saying Nada Simic, so we're even. Tezbot says, trouble is many have voted against immigration for decades. Still, many people don't get it. Idiots. Time to leave. Well, yeah, if you're talking about Britain, yeah.
Yeah, but think about this, Tezbot. There's a reason it's so hard. So you say, okay, why aren't more people catching on to this? How can you not see the obvious? Well, I mean, people in Great Britain are bombarded from the day they're born by all their politicians, all their journalists, every educator they ever have in their entire lives. Everyone in any position of authority is telling them that the only possible basis for disagreeing with anything in Islam or anything any Muslim ever does is racism. You have to be a racist. And then you don't want to be a racist, do you? Okay, then this option is not open to you. Criticizing Islam is not open to you because you don't want to be a racist. And so it's hard to break through that for people, but it needs to happen anyway.
Indeed. All right, we got Patriotic Z. My jizya. Thank you, Patriotic Z. My mom has ALS, I'm sorry, and my neighbor's daughter is in a medical coma with leukemia. They are both Trinitarian Christians, so keep both in prayers. Please pray for Patriotic Z's mom and his neighbor's daughter. John Davis says he is again saying the same thing. Yes, you were correct, sir. That is absolutely true. Rick Martell, Charles's boy, says, Robert, would the critical Quran be appropriate for David's Islamic Dilemma project? I suspect there might be some information in it that might be useful. I certainly would hope so. We'll see as we go along. I also might be able to point the direction to some things that might be useful that I discovered in the course of research on the book. Songs of Relief. The pagans were not rightly guided. Muhammad was sent alongside him. Allah's in his corner, but he's only a warner, so a miracle won't be provided.
Hang on, let's pause that, Robert. I just want to screenshot that. There we go.
I didn't even realize that was a poem when I started. So
Robert's got some competition.
That's a sir, I like it. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a prophet.
You might be a prophet too. Maybe you're both prophets.
Maybe that's it. The Israeli producer broke free by the power of Almighty Ezra. You'd think those that read the Quran would know about Ezra and the Jews. Yes, the Quran, for those of you who may not know, in chapter 9, verse 30, says the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah. No Jews have ever been found who say Ezra is the son of Allah or God.
Hey, to be funny if that Jewish producer they got him there and like, oh, you will never escape, and then he's like, wait a minute, is that a Garkid tree over there? Bolts for the Garkid tree, and they're like, where did he go? Where did he go?
That's it. All right, Kali 10 SAR, thank you. I do not know what SAR are, but thank you. Faith of the First Order. Robert, when will you and AP rebuke David, the woodland creature, for being a Protestant heretic? Keep doing the Lord's work, you guys. Well, AP and I are both Orthodox Christians, and we love David and respect David and are happy to discuss these issues, but, who needs it?
That's why we will humiliate him.
I'm willing. I wrote a book about why I returned to the Orthodox Church after many years away. It's called The Church and the Pope. You can find that book. I'm willing to discuss these issues, but at the same time, I think we have this job to do that we're doing very well together. Mm-hmm. We don't need to sow discord, and so
I've been thinking because I'm of the view. Wait, you guys, we got the new atheism that we still need to deal with because it's paving the way for Islam, and then you got the jihadis, and I don't know. I'm kind of be interested in focusing on that, but it's so many people are talking about Catholicism and Protestantism and the Eastern Orthodoxy and so on, that I was thinking if maybe come up with some friendly way to do it. Have a like one night during a live stream, have a Protestant on there. Give us your best slam dunk case, because I've said before, I'm kind of in the Protestant camp by default. I became a Christian reading the Bible in a jail cell, and so that's just how I became a Christian. And that kind of, if you don't enter the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church, then you're kind of a Protestant by default, even if you're not protesting anything. So I've always been in that camp, and it's always been kind of, I don't really care tremendously about the differences or something like that. But so anyway, so I wouldn't be some sort of forceful advocate for Protestantism, but my friends are. My friends like Anthony Rogers and Tony Costa and so on are. So anyway, it might be good one day just like have one live stream where a Protestant gives his best case for Protestantism, and then a different day we have a Catholic representative. Give your best case, give your best defense for being for the Catholic Church, and then have another day where someone Eastern Orthodox representatives. Okay, give us your best case, and then it's after that it's okay, guys, you've heard the case for each one. That's probably as far as I'll be interested in going.
No Ishmael to talk about Unitarianism.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right. Eileen Sloan says, thank you. Thank you, Eileen Sloan. And inspiring haiku, your books are needed in Japanese. Since the Japanese Prime Minister announced he's going to consider allowing Gazans in, the Japanese are clueless about Islam. Yeah, and I have covered at Jihad Watch a few stories about jihad in Japan, mostly Pakistani migrants. It's a shame that they see everything happening everywhere else, and yet they think, yeah, let's do that. I do have a book that was translated into Korean. I forget which one, but I don't think any were translated into Japanese. If you know a Japanese publisher, let's talk. And Beatriz Nunez says, just want to say keep going. Thanks, Beatriz.
And so we shall.
And so we shall, but not this week, because we have come to the end, and we thank you. And we will be back next week. No, not next week, because I will be on the road speaking yet again. And we'll be back soon with more jihad. Until then, as always, pray, hope, and don't worry.